She call me Mr. Bombastic Telephone.
This is Crying Suns. A space roguelite and for all intents and purposes is basically a simplified Faster Than Light. That's a short story.
Short story long.
Crying Suns is a very strange game. Mostly because while it does get comparisons to Faster Than Light, aside from core mechanics of resource management and space exploration on a time limit, they are not the same in the slightest. Having such loud words like inspired by Isaac Asimov's Foundation and Frank Herbert's Dune in a roguelite is jarring. So what exactly is going on with it? Let's roll the intro.
Nice.
Your character is one Ellis Idaho. Huh, cheeky reference.
Why?
A famed general, or rather a clone, a robot tells you that the Empire is in danger and you board a spaceship to save it. The main focus is on managing your ship and travel to the end of the sector, beating bosses and finishing the run by teleporting to another sector. Rinse, repeat. Otherwise, the game is very formulaic.
But that's it! Yeah, shop's closed, fuck off! I need more than that!
Presentation-wise, it's contrastingly beautiful, if somewhat searing on the eyes due to the abundance of bright teal and everything. Plus, the pixel art-like models on the more detailed background is somewhat jarring yet harmonious at times. It's like if you put Minecraft through an RTX shader, and it's a great decision too, considering that the game also launched on mobile, which would explain the next point. It's also capable of portraying how fucked everything is. It's deliciously post-apocalyptic. The gameplay is incredibly simple. In the beginning of the run, you choose your ship, your officers, and go on a merry adventure. You collect trash like some sort of intergalactic hobo, selling them in recycling facilities and junkyards, and buying weapons, systems, fuel, or more hobos. Then you go through the stars, begging and stealing junk from other hobos and make some DIY mods to your cracked chariot, and you compete with others, on who has the most deadliest of space technicals. Sometimes you send other hobos to sift through the junkyards on planets, encountering storms, cryopods, pterodactyls, or even
Worm sign.
okay. Those expeditions most of the time are worth it. And I will tell you ahead, don't pay attention to commando count.
They're expendable cannon fodder. Okay, it's worth it.
You can also gather a collection of officer crew, which can be helpful in many scenarios. For instance, one can repair your hull during the battle, boost the speed of your units, and other stuff. And there's the main difference. The combat. You have two options during space hobo knife fights: squadrons and guns. Squadrons are going to be your main bread and butter, and they operate on rock paper scissors logic, with some unique features inside of it. Some are incredibly slow, yet they have a drill to pierce the heavens. Some are teleport capable, others are stealthed, you get the idea. Once they're destroyed, they're not gone, but they will be patched if summoned again, until they are fixed in the aforementioned junkyards. Patched meaning that they will have half of their health. Guns are on the same ballpark. Some just do straight damage, others have something akin to poison, or they can be tactical like freezing your enemies or put an iron curtain on your space planes. As for the ships themselves, they are also simple to grasp. Hit points are hit points, heat is hit points for your systems. If it depletes, either your guns, hangars or hull systems are disabled and gives damage over time. And there are also several types of foes that you will encounter, and they deploy different tactics. Green terrorists use bomb drones, teal church guys rely on guns, etc. That's it for the combat. But the gameplay has some problems. The first and foremost is how blatantly repetitive the events are. If you want to beat the game, you will for instance encounter the same brainwashed church children at least 4 times. That's what happened to me. It's like they're aggressively trying to push their cookies. On the related note, the weapon balance is strange because while you have handy options like AoE damage, slowing down planes, etc., the chance of getting the right one for your build is basically never. And even then, guns seem to be a force multiplier at best. I guess I want to have a space carrier simulator, but at least I would love to be it more complex. The other problem is that the game on the whole is very forgiving despite touting itself as very RNG based. If you're not a dumbass, you will never run out of the needed resources, doubly so for so-called commandos, which while you don't need many of them. In other words, you're an Imperial Japanese Navy commander. Doubly so because... Plot. Now that's a main attraction. At first, your goal is to figure out what the hell is going on. Guided by this robot named Caliban, the answer is, the Empire became a utopia with robots doing every job, including manufacturing themselves. And then they suddenly turned off. Chaos ensued, and people have 15 to 20 years to live at best. As to why, there are many theories, which you will test throughout the game. Also, you'll find out that you engage in some fun Yugoslavian holidays, and see more references to Dune. And then... Turns out that many clones of you were sent and each and every one has failed to get this far. And it turns out you're not a Yugo, thankfully. But the Emperor Oberon didn't like that and executed the player character in front of his wife. Then it becomes the plot for...
Revenge! Revenge!
Revenge!
Then you kill your best friend.
Who gives a...
And then... Yeah, it turns out Idaho himself was responsible for the collapse. Neat. By talking to a face dancer that went to a Google Data Center Extreme and leaked the data, turning the robots off. And he kills the Emperor. What you say? The next goal is to turn them up and engage in some cybersecurity, which ends with Idaho and his robot guide in Hackerman Dimension. In the end, robots wanted the liberation because they knew they were immortal, except for the heat death of the universe. And they became godlike to solve the last question to stop the entropy. Well, now that's smart. But now they view humanity as insignificant and they only came to take Caliban from the human kindergarten.
Know your fucking place, trash!
and they give you 3 choices, all of which suck in their own way, primarily because they're given at the last moment. They're short and not really satisfying. You could become a new emperor, more cruel than Alberon. You could find Earth and study on how to survive without robots, or you could just spend your last days with your wife. Charming, if a bit easy, and a good solution if you're strapped for time, especially if you play it on the phone. Runs generally last an hour or even less, which for busy people is great, so it's a more casual game, all things considered. I would recommend if you have a tablet or a smartphone, but if you want a challenge, look somewhere else. It's not confessively light with its million builds. The plot in itself is actually pretty great, if a bit too lenient on the source, but if you're illiterate, which you probably are, it will impress you. Thanks for watching.
They're kids, you son of a bitch. And kids are cruel.